Guys, pay attention.
Okay, and guys, there was something very important that happened. At the time, the same hour that Jesus died, there was, at the same hour that Jesus died, he cried out something very powerful. And it was just about lunchtime, and the sun was at its brightest.
Right. When Jesus died, it was midday, but it got really, really dark. Some of you have seen those dark clouds. It gets really, really dark. And just as it got dark, Jesus looked up and yelled, "It is finished!" And he gave up his spirit and died on that cross there.
And we learned later that at the same hour, the curtain in the temple ripped.
Yes. When Jesus died, all our sins were washed away. And we no longer had to be separated from God. Like I told you earlier, when the curtain ripped, that means now we can be in God's presence. Now we can go. Just like the priest did, we can go in.
You see, how it was that there was this big curtain that was there, and it would separate the people from God. And that was before Jesus came and died. Because the way it was that we could not be right in the presence of God because of sin in our hearts and sin in our lives. But you know what? That was not the only thing that Jesus said to the angel. All right? He did not only tell them that Jesus was laying in the tomb, but he said something else.
Yes, that's right. The angel told us, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell the disciples what you saw."
Yeah, and as we went on our way to find the disciples, we were both afraid and excited at the same time as we hurried down the road to go home.
Just then we saw Jesus in front of us.
And we bowed down and we worshiped Jesus. Jesus, who was crucified, was now standing right in front of us, alive.
And he said, "Do not be afraid. Go, tell the disciples what you saw, and tell the disciples to meet me in Galilee so they can see for themselves what you just saw."
And we learned later that the soldiers went to the religious leaders and told them what had happened. But the religious leaders said to them, "Do not tell anybody that Jesus had risen."
So what the religious leaders did is they paid the guards to lie. And the guards told the people that the disciples came in the middle of the night and took Jesus' body. And the people believed them. Till this day, they believe that story.
So that's now when the Marys came back to the disciples, excuse me, and told us what they had seen. Now, I got so excited that I ran all the way down to the tomb and looked in and found what they said was correct. The body was gone. The clothes had been piled in a neat pile there, but there was no body. Now later that day, while we were all back at the house, there came a knock on the door. And one of the Marys went to the door to answer it. And the knocker said, "This is Jesus." Now she didn't believe it because she thought Jesus was gone. So she came and told us. We got very afraid. So when Jesus finally came in, he showed us his hands, his feet. He showed us the piercing stab wound in his side. And he said to us, "It is I, Jesus." Now we'd like to take you back to where we last saw Jesus.
But just before we go there, is there any questions that anybody has? Any of the boys and girls questions?
This young man here had a question earlier.
Me?
No, this one here.
And then after Casey.
Yes, yes.
Casey.
You had a question?
Where did
Yeah,
Jesus came from?
Well, Jesus always was. Remember, he's the Father. He's God. So